lovely people, it's Nicole, and today I want to talk to you guys about my least favorite books of 2017. What's the year? I don't know. It's 2017. Not anymore. It just was 2017. Okay. Getting off to a great start. Anyway, so 2017 just happened, and I read a lot of books. And some of them I liked, and I just filmed a video on that should be up before this one. And some of them I didn't like so much, so I'm going to talk about those now. I would like to clarify, when I say these are the worst books of 2017, I'm being hyperbolic for clicks, guys. There are worse books that I just didn't read. I've gotten fairly good, I think, at knowing what kinds of things I like in books, finding reviewers who I trust. There are a couple different kinds of books on this list. There are books that I DNF'd just because I just knew that I wouldn't enjoy them and they just weren't interesting me. There were books that I DNF'd because I actively hated them. There were books that are just kind of disappointing that I wanted more from, and then there are books that just weren't my thing, and so I didn't enjoy them. These are the books that I didn't enjoy in 2017. You may enjoy these books. In fact, there's a couple books on this list that are very popular. These are my opinions, and if you love these books, then I'm glad that these can bring you joy. I also want to say that just because I didn't like this particular book or I didn't love this particular book doesn't mean I don't like the author. It doesn't mean that there is not value to it. A couple of the books on this list, I actually feel kind of bad about putting them on this list because I've met the authors and they're super sweet and I feel bad and I don't mean to trash their books, but this is where I share my opinion on books and honest opinion. I'm not gonna pretend that I liked a book just because I like the author. So let's shit talk some books, because let's be real, that's why everyone clicks on these videos. It's to shit talk books that they hated. And the first book that I hated in 2017 is Stranger Than Fanfiction by Craswell. This is a book that I was super excited for. And I got 50 pages in and I DNF'd it because I was so disappointed. I love Craswell's Land of Stories series. It's funny, it's cute, it's such a great middle grade fantasy. I enjoy it. And so of course I was excited to read his return to YA, and it seemed like this was gonna be kind of a cool, maybe a little tiny bit autobiographical, but it was just like I said, I got 50 pages in. I didn't like any of the main characters. I mean, the main character, this celebrity character, was just a dick. I get having an unlikable character that's, obviously where the way the story was going, he was gonna get some kind of redemption, fine, but I honestly didn't care to see him redeemed. There was nothing that I could latch onto as a yes, this is an interesting character. He was just generally kind of a mess and kind of a jerk to everyone. And then the sort of group of friends that he was to go on this road trip with were just lackluster, honestly. I don't remember all that much about them except for the thing that sort of finally made me put the book down, that was sort of the last straw. There was one particular character who was trans, and the way that the trans reveal was done, it was sort of presented as a, whoop, surprise, trans! And I'm like, can we not use sexuality and gender identity as a plot twist? Can we be done with that now? The chapter in which it was revealed referred to them by the wrong pronouns for half the chapter, and then there was the surprise trans plot twist, and then it all of a sudden started referring to them as with the correct pronouns, and I'm like, you just misgendered them for fucking half a chapter! Especially because that entire chapter was from their point of view. It was so frustrating, and it just felt like the diversity in the book wasn't genuine representation. It was just kind of here, look, I'm being diverse and representative, and appreciate me. I'm not gonna give you brownie points for the bare minimum. The next book on my list is Elected by Rory Shea. This is one that I DNF'd after a few pages. Not necessarily because I didn't like the book, although the writing style just kind of wasn't to my taste, but just because, and I've talked about this on this channel before, but when I was reading the book, I got similar feelings, just internal mental health feelings, as I did when I was reading Handmaid's Tale, and I was reading Handmaid's Tale for a class, so I couldn't DNF it, and it ended up being really hard on my mental health, and so I did not want to put myself through that again, so for my own sake I DNF'd this. But I will say, from what I did read, I was a little concerned about the way that it presented gender identity and the way that it presented sort of a trans narrative, because it's coming from a cis author, and the general plot focuses on a girl who was forced to present as male for her entire life because of the kingdom's rules about gender roles and who can like rule the kingdom, and she's supposed to be the inheritor of the kingdom. And so she was forced to present as male all her life, but she identifies as female. And then she's like forced to get married to a woman, but she's straight. It feels like a very sort of weird reverse queer narrative, but it's coming from a straight cis author. And I was just kind of hesitant about that. Again, I did not finish the book, so I cannot make a definitive judgment either way on it, but it's just something that I was wary of. Half the books on this list are ones that I ended up DNFing, and this book is probably the one that I like actively hated the most when I DNF'd it, and that's Boyfriends with Girlfriends by Alex Sanchez. Bit of backstory. At the beginning of the semester in which I read this book, I was in this education class that was about using diverse literature to teach children. I ended up dropping the class because there were like some outside of class requirements that I was not able to do. But, you know, I still had all the books from the class, and this was one of the books. And this, at the beginning of the class, the teacher was like, there aren't a lot of good bisexual rep books, which like, in my previous video, the one that's all my best books of 2017, like half the books in there are good bi rep books, although in the teacher's defense, most of them came out this year. But like, there are good bi rep books now, so now you don't have any excuse to recommend garbage shit like this. But this was, he was like, it's not a great book, but like, it's the only thing that has halfway decent bi rep. Does not have halfway decent bi rep, at least from the amount that I could tolerate reading. So basically, this book is about a bi guy who like gets a boyfriend and a girl who thinks she's straight, but then like starts getting attracted to another girl. And just in the first few pages, the like aggressive biphobia was just too much. And like, it was clear that in certain instances it was like intentional, like this is bad, this is biphobic. It was just so much. It was too much. It was like actually hurtful. And then there were a couple instances that were like kind of casually transphobic. There were a couple instances of like misgendering people. There were a couple instances that were like generally kind of gross or lesbophobic or vaguely racist. The like main girl's love interest is an Asian girl, and like their first interaction is like super weird and fetishizing, and every single aspect of this book just made me so uncomfortable, so I like threw it across the room, kind of DNF'd it. Do not recommend at all if you're looking for good bi rep. If you want good bi rep, again, go watch my previous video, which I talk about the best books of 2017, because like I said, like half of those have awesome bi rep. The next book on this list, and the last one that I DNF'd, is Roseblood by A.G. Howard. This is one that I got through Owl Crate, and it's kind of unfortunate because like this is one of the only Owl Crate books that I haven't liked. Hello, Mickey. Cattail. Do you want to come say hi? Do you want to come say hi, baby girl? Hi, this is Mickey. This is my sister's cat. She's the one I'm cat sitting this week. Oh yeah, I'm in a different place. I mentioned this in my previous video. Oh, are you just gonna hang out on my lap for the rest of the video? Okay. If I'm like weirdly petting my lap, it's because there's a cat down here, sorry. Hey, pretty. Anyway, so Roseblood by A.G. Howard. It like set up to be kind of a Phantom of the Opera retelling, but like not really, also kind of like a companion piece. I couldn't really tell. It was kind of presented to me as a Phantom of the Opera retelling, but like Phantom of the Opera definitely happened in this book, so it's almost more like a sequel. But within the first like 20 pages, there was every single shitty YA trope. Don't get me wrong, if a trope's done well, I am a sucker for it. But there was the weird, magical, mysterious boy. There was the girl who was not like other girls. There was the, you know, she had this mysterious power that she hated, but, you know, everyone thought was beautiful. You know, she thought that she was ugly, but everyone else thought she was beautiful. But no, she's just average. And like, there's the blonde bitchy chick, and oh my god, it was just so much. It was so extra, and I could not stand it, so DNF'd it real quick. All the rest of the books on my list are ones that I finished, but gave like 2.5 to 3 stars, so I didn't hate them, I just didn't love them. Like, to be clear, these aren't bad books. They're just ones that I wasn't super thrilled about, or like they weren't really my thing, as is the case of this next book on my list, which is The Wicked and the Just by J. Anderson Coates, and this takes place in like the 3rd century England. But this is a gritty, slightly political, social commentary of the 13th century kind of book. And first of all, I'm just not a big historical fiction person. Second of all, I'm not really big on like political books. Honestly, it's kind of boring to me. It was very slow-paced, very sort of character-focused, and I think if that's what you're looking for in a book, that it was great. And I think it was well done for what it was trying to accomplish. That's just not at all what I like to read. I tend to look for a lot more action-packed books with, you know, dramatic romance and epic friendships and, you know, magic and mischief and all that stuff. And this just felt very kind of like low-key for what I tend to go for. The next book is The Body Finder by Kimberly Durding. Again, I didn't hate this. I'm not gonna be continuing with the series. The book wasn't bad. It just didn't feel like anything particularly new or interesting, which, I mean, to be fair, this book was not published in 2017. This book was published a few years ago, but it was just didn't really draw me in. The main character just felt like kind of a generic female protagonist. The love interest was kind of weird and controlling at times, maybe felt like they were trying a little bit to be a little Edward-y. The plotline about the finding bodies and like solving a mystery was cool, and there was a really cool aspect of like seeing from the murderer's perspective, but beyond that, there really wasn't anything that drew me in. The next book on my list, this is the one that I feel like people are gonna get mad at me for, is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Yeah, everyone loves this book. Everyone and their mother loves this book. I will say that it's a really cool format. I did enjoy that aspect, the way the format sort of reflected the mood and the atmosphere of the book was really well done. My problem is it just was not what I was expecting. I was expecting a secret spy kind of thing. Nope. This was like hard sci-fi with zombies, which was not what I signed up for. And maybe that's just because the plot description is super vague and like no one talks about the plot while talking about this book. This book is not a spy thriller. Like I said, this book is hard sci-fi with space zombies. I don't know where that came from. I never heard anyone talk about that aspect of this book before, but it just was not what I was interested in. I'm not a big zombie person, and the format made it really difficult for me to emotionally connect to the characters. I felt like I had no reason other than format was interesting to continue on with this book. And the final book on this list is As I Descended by Robin Talley. Again, this book wasn't like bad, it just wasn't great. It's intended to be a retelling of the Scottish play, but like with lesbians in a private school, which like I'm down for that. Also, some representation of like chronic illness, disability in here, which good that we have that representation. I cannot speak to the quality of the representation, but I do think it's worth acknowledging that it's there. I think my main issue with the story is just that we didn't establish a norm before everything went to shit. I didn't have any reason to root for these characters when they, how do I phrase this without using really shitty, stigmatizing for mental illness language, went the stereotypical definition of crazy and started killing people. And like, I think there was also some kind of weird possession going on. I mean, like, it's Mickey B. So like, shit gets whack. And I mean, this isn't dissimilar from the play, but the play is Shakespeare, so like, I'll let it slide. But I didn't get to know the main character's relationship well enough to care when it fell apart. I didn't get to know the main characters enough to care when they started killing people. Like, I had no motivation to be emotionally invested in this story, which for me while reading, that's one of the most important things. I will definitely link any reviews that I have for these books in the doobly-doo, because I definitely have some ranty reviews for some of these books. But please let me know what you think about any of them in the comments. I love to talk to you guys about them. Also, if you have any other books that you want to rant about, spill the tea in the comments. I'd love to hear. I love you guys, and I will see you later. Bye!